Okay, now, before doing any kind of presentation, let me just set up a little bit the workspace in a way that you can see what I'm doing. So let's start with the tool properties that I will put it here. And let's go with the subtool group, in this case, the Watercolor LB brush set. Okay, so let's go here. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay. Now you can see easily whatever I'm doing. So the first, if you want to have a tutorial in which I explain you how to make this kind of minimalistic modular workspace, just let me know. It's really easy. It will take just a couple of minutes. Now, being said that, let's go to the presentation of those brushes. Okay. Now, the Trent brush edition is just a little bit of a work of respect for Trent Canuga. He has a YouTube channel in which he helps new concept artists in, just having a good understanding of the craft. Okay, so this is a brush created to emulate his watercolor brush that he uses in whatever work he's doing practically. So because of this brush will always be free. Okay, it's the 5 free brushes. I will never let you pay for this specific brush. Okay, now here's what you can do with this brush. It's practically a brush that will let you create very thick line or very small line based on how you angle the pen. Okay, let me go a little bit on black, maybe you will see a little bit better. And it has this very slight texture that I really love. Okay, in the option we have the color mixing, the brush size. If you have seen the introduction videos, you will know what I'm talking about. Okay, so with this brush, it's practically a workhorse. Okay, if you put amount of paint, density of paint, color stretch, everything at 0, you can use it as a blender. If you increase the amount of paint, density of paint, you practically have a brush that you can use to create shading and whatsoever inside your canvas. Okay, if you check from blend to smear, probably you're hearing my cat here. He wants a little bit of cuddles, but I can't right now. So if you go to smear and not blend, you will keep these textures. Okay, so let's remove color mixing. Thickness is what gives this rectangular shape, and if you go to 100, you will have a square. Okay, meaning that you have a little bit more shape control on what you want to paint. I just put it back on 50. So I have again my thin line, big line. Angle is when here in 105, I will have a small horizontal line, but a big vertical line. If I put 90, I will have the reverse. Okay, no, sorry, 0. Sorry, 0. If I put it at 0, I will have a big horizontal line and a thin vertical line. I prefer the vertical big because it's, I don't know, it's more automatic to me, but you can do whatever you want. Brush density is how much this brush will have. It's the opacity, okay, but you have a little bit more control with your brush, with brush density. Okay, so if I go 100, you will have full opacity. If I go to 0, you will have practically something that is invisible. Okay, I like to put it at 50 or something, not an issue, because it gives me more control. Watercolor edge is, well, this little edge you see here near the brush strokes. Let's go 20 and you will see that practically it covers the whole brush. If I go to 8, it's less, and so on. I usually put it at 1.9 or something like that. If you don't like it, just uncheck here, okay? This is practically the workhorse brush of this set, okay? So let's go to the next one, is Watercolor Paper Texture Winsor & Newton. Why Winsor & Newton? Because I've used Winsor & Newton paper to, you know, as a base for the texture. This brush is a pretty soft brush with a slight texture based on the paper. As you can see, it has this very subtle feeling, okay? The texture, the paper is what gives the real texture to it. The settings are the same as Watercolor Trend Edition, except for the thickness and the angle and the watercolor edge. So that's why I've took so much time with the Trend Edition, because I explained that. I explained 99% of this brush set. Okay, this is really useful, this kind of brush, for creating like background textures or give a little bit more depth to your colors. The next one is the same as before, but with a rougher texture, as you can see, okay? It gives a little bit more of a punch to your background, to your textures, to your brush strokes. It's just a little bit, it just pop-ups a little bit more, okay? The next one is an eraser, okay? This eraser is for edge control. Sorry, I was wrong. It isn't an eraser. I didn't select the eraser, but the normal one. This is for edge control, okay? It gives you this very texture-ish edge that you can use to create intriguing texture. For example, you can create, by the way, this brush is not created to be used like this, but it's used like this. You make a stroke, 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 okay? This is created to create shape variation inside your big shapes, okay? It's a way for you to create intriguing texture in a modular way, okay? Those two are a way to auto-control your edge, the starting and ending of your brush, okay? So if I go here, 100, and I make a single brush stroke, as you can see here, I have a little bit less density in the right, the starting point. So if I just uncheck here, yeah, because I have a pen pressure activated, so it's a little bit less obvious. So as you can see here, I have the starting point, density 100, not an issue. And here I have a single gradient, is because of this option. Here, as you can see, I have a starting point and an ending point with different density. You don't like it, just uncheck here and you have everything that is based on this, on the pen pressure of the brush density, okay? It depends all on how you like to work. Now, this one is the glazing soft. By the way, I forgot. This will be a mess, honestly. The water edge and the water edge eraser are the same thing, but this one is a brush, as you can see, okay? While the eraser is, well, an eraser, okay? That's it. Now we start with the glazing soft, 1, 2, and 3, okay? So those one are for creating soft variation for shadow, lights, and whatsoever. The glazing soft one have the continuous spray option on. It means that if you stay in the same point, it will increase the density of the brush. The Watercolor Soft 2 have a similar feeling, but it doesn't have the continuous spraying. So even if you stay in a single point, it will not increase the brush density. And it has a little bit more of a texture, if you can see it. I prefer this one because I'm a sucker for textures. So here's the Glazing Soft 3. Okay, it isn't another very soft brush, and it gives you a little bit more of a laying. It has a little bit more density the more you lay it. So let's make a little bit of a paragon. I will just, damn it, wrong shortcut. Just make a single color here, a little bit of a black so you can see a little bit better. And I select a white color, and let's go with the first soft. As you can see, it's practically nil. It's practically nothing at all, okay? Because of the small amount of paint. If you don't like it like this, don't worry about it. Just increase the amount of paint, okay? And you will start to see a little bit of the color, okay? Let's do the same thing now with the Watercolor Soft 2, okay? This gives you a little bit heavier look because of the amount of paint, 85. Watercolor Soft 3 is it's easier, it's softer, like Glazing Soft 1. So if you don't like this softness, you just need to increase the amount of paint until you like it, okay? They're both very easy to blend. They are all three very easy to blend with, as you can see, especially the first one. And those are the Watercolor Glazing Soft. The soft brush is, well, this one is a very soft brush with a little bit of texture on it. And this one is the one I used for if I need to create clouds, or I need to create, I need to layer it something real quick, really easy, and so on. Another advantage of the Watercolor Soft over the Watercolor Glazing is look at the size of the brush, okay? It doesn't lag, okay? And I have 1000 pixel, okay? Doesn't lag anything at all. If I go to the water glazing and I go with the same, well, it doesn't lag even this one, okay? Okay, they are both legless. You discover new things even in your brush set. So yeah, you can have 1400 without lag. Okay. Well, I didn't know I could do it, and this is my brush set, okay? Being said that, you know, soft with a little bit of texture. Let's go to the next one. Is soft textured. It's soft and it has more texture. Okay, so yeah, that's it. As you can see, it has a very soft transition between when you try to blend. And now let's go to Watercolor Dense Texture. This is a little bit my favorite brush of the set. I use it when I need to create soft edge, like for example, here, let's make a bluish square, and I want to make I don't know, some line here, some really soft line here, and that's it. It's practically a way to add slowly depth to your painting, practically speaking. If you want to use it separately, like this, you know, you can do it. It's practically, you know, just change the settings. If you want something a little bit more harder, that's it. Probably you're listening to my cat again. He wants to be petted, but I prefer a softer feeling. So, you know, yeah, okay. So let's go here to watercolor dense. It's a dense watercolor with less, it's practically the same, but you know, less texture. Here's the watercolor dense, not textured. Here's the one with the texture. Okay, it are very similar, but you have more texture in one than in the others. So let's go. Now the subtract brushes are a little bit strange. Okay, it gives you this little bit of a texture, and if you go again in the same line, it will erase, as you can see, the line. Those are really useful if you want to create those kind of shapes. Just remember, the more you press, the more color you add, so you can have complete control on how it will erase and the blob of texture that you can create. The Subtract 2 is similar, but it has a lot more texture of a feeling, and because of this, it lags a little bit more. Okay, it lags a little bit more, same as before. The more you press, the more color. The less you press, the more texture you add to your brush stroke. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Is textured tip. Okay, textured tip is, simply put, brush that will let you create, practically speaking, a very textured feeling. This is great for shading and creating intriguing texture that you can add to your canvas. Because here's the point. It will create automatically in a modular way a texture, and a seamless texture, okay, because you are using your brush. Okay, so if you convert this one in a image material, you can just tile it and you are good to go. Okay, but in retrospect, they don't blend too well as I wanted. So, you know, they are very soft brushes in which you can blend while keeping a really nice and cool texture, as you can see. Okay, nothing fancy. No, I'm joking, it's really fancy. I spent a lot of time on those. Now let's go with the other one. This is like for creating smoke and giving, like, for example, sorry, I will need to use another shortcut. For example, it's cool if you, let me just choose another kind of color that doesn't destroy your eyes. So we have this. We just want to add a little bit of shading, a little bit of textured shadow. So we just go here, and as you can see, we are adding some variations, some interest inside the shadow. Okay, so that's it. It's practically very and I just recognize that it isn't the right brush here, and I don't have time to retake it. This is first take because I don't have the time to take a second take. So watercolor, water edge, elf, okay, is the same as watercolor, water edge, but is more useful to change, as you can see, the feeling of the edge of your shapes, okay? The eraser is the same thing, but it's in reverse. So you can use it to create those intriguing shapes at the edge. Those are really cool, and there is another thing that you can do it. Let's see. And there is another thing that you can do, but I will show you later, okay? So let's go. Salt texture, okay? No, I didn't take a League of Legends. Yes, because if you talk about salt, it's, you know, you need to make a League of Legends joke. It's the rule. Even if I played League of Legends, you know, not the point, okay? It gives you, when you use it, you have those very cool texture, okay? When I've seen this texture, when I use, because I scan textures from a real watercolor paper, so this is a real watercolor paper in which I used salt texture, okay? I have done it like salt bar because I wanted to have some fun, but that's not important. It gives you these really cool looking textures. And as you can see, I've tried to make it seamless, but you have some repetition, okay? So what you do, see, like when you do some really big brush, like, let's see if this one can go to like, what, 2000, okay? No lag. Okay, I've created very optimized brushes, okay? That's, I'm really surprised. But what you do when you need to make some really big brush strokes and you don't want this repetition, you just increase the scale ratio of the texture. As you can see now, you will have a bigger texture, meaning that you will not see the repetition. By the way, the texture were scaled at 80K size, okay? This means that even if you go 1000 here, the texture will, just a second, let's see if we found an option. Well, you will have, you know, a pretty, let's see, with 27, if this is a little bit more visible. Oh. Yeah, even with 80 pixel for square, we can say, you will have a sharp texture, okay? Let me just put it a little bit back, because technically you will never go over 80 pixel size, okay? So some texture is the same, but you have a different texture applied. So you can, you know, just go ham on those, because the density of the texture is based on your pen pressure, okay? So if I go very light, I will have all the texture I want. I go harder, I will have a flat color. So you can use it to add a really good depth to your canvas, to your illustration. And they blend pretty much nicely as all the brushes. Just find what you find more comfortable when playing around. Just have fun with those. Okay, let's go. The paper spray. Okay, why I call them paper spray? Because, well, they are a spray and you can use it to create some sort, again, seamless texture that you can use as a paper texture, okay? That's practically a spray that use paper as brush tips. Now, in case you want to increase the particle size, because here's the point. You want more density in the stroke, you decrease the size, but probably you want to use a bigger size without having this kind of spray stuff, so what you do, you just go a little bit small, you check here brush size, and you have a bigger, let's see how can I go bigger with this one without a leg. Another 1000 brush. Okay, so that's why it's called paper spray, because you can create paper texture with a spray practically. Okay, so you want again a normal spray, you uncheck this, that's it. Paper spray 2 is the same thing, but it explains a little bit better why I call it paper spray. Okay, let's see, let's go red so it's a little bit more visible, and it gives this really cool blending between colors. Like I swear I want to return illustrating something with those. So splat spray 1, 2, and texture. Okay, so those are the same thing, but you know, with splats. I never use in real life and in digital those kind of stuff. So you know, maybe you will like it, I don't know. The most important thing is that if I increase the size at 100, 1000, as you can see, you have a little bit of a blur. But if you go, it's good until probably 700, you are good to go. Okay, you will have a crisp image because every brush tip is at least 2K in resolution. Okay, so same thing, splat spray 2. The main difference is that those are half of a splat and those are full splats. The watercolor spray textured is maybe a little bit the more intriguing one, okay? Because for example, here I have one of the salt texture that I've created. So if I go here and use the watercolor texture, let's go with this one. Okay, that is one seamless watercolor texture. As you can see, it gives a completely different feeling to the splats. Okay, if you want to go back to the previous one with the more texture, just press this little button here. As you can see, it will ask you if you want to do it. Press OK, and you will return with the salt texture of before. It gives this really texture-ish feeling that it can add a little bit of a pop to your illustration. This is just, the option is texture, texture density, and scale ratio. Everything, we have seen it before. If you want to change the texture, just go here. That's it. The watercolor texture floating is probably a little bit of it's a little bit more difficult to understand it, because it's practically this. It's a brush that will let you flood your canvas really easy with a texture, okay? So if I go here, search for watercolor texture, as you can see, it will flood really easily with a texture your canvas. That's it. That's how this works. That's why it's called texture flooding. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now, those one are very intriguing, okay? Because those one gives you a very a procedural way, a modular way to create a dripping to your canvas using the thickness here. For example, you increase the thickness, as you can see, you have more length, okay? That's it, practically. And if you go to vertical, you practically increase how much drip you have, okay? Here, that's practically however you want. Okay, you want a bigger drip, a longer drip, more drip, just do whatever you want with this one, okay? And you have three types here. For example, you have, you have a textured one and a one with a softer edge, okay, here. So it blends a little bit more nicely, but this isn't even the cooler stuff that you can do, okay? This is a balloon, okay, for comics, whatever. And just let me, so you can see the size, the line color, okay? So I just go here, select the drip, and it's a little bit difficult because the size is really small. Okay, let's just uncheck random, and we increase the size, and you can see you can use this brush shape for your balloon, okay? So for example, because the object tool, it's a little bit strange on the settings. In case you don't want it to be here, an internal, you just need to go here in the little branch bar, click here, and go to brush tip, angle, and you put 90, and there you have it. Okay, you want to change the texture, you can do it easily. Just go to Alt option, texture, watercolor, probably I will use the salt one, probably, okay? And it will give you this amazing feeling, okay? This is really, really cool. And because I just want to show you how you can record those brush shape, let's go to the watercolor edge elf, okay? This is half the size. You go to, you click on this little branch bar, okay? And you go to brush shape, and you just click add to presets, okay? Being said that, we click again to our balloon, we go to brush shape here, we select the brush shape, we select the newly added, this can happen because of the size, so let's decrease a little bit the size, and just we need to be sure that the repetition is good, like this, and there you have it. This works with frames, balloons, whatever you want, okay? It's really, really cool, okay? I really love this thing, okay? And do you want to know the really cool stuff? It's practically impossible to have a repetition of the texture because you have 5 brushes. No, wait, it wasn't 5 on this one. It was, let's go, brush tip. It was more than 5, okay? It was like 8 brushes, brush tips that goes in a random order, okay? It's practically impossible to have a repetition in the texture, okay? Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Paper blender, those are your blenders that, you know, easy peasy. So let's go with 1, 2, 3 squares, so I can show you all the blenders without an issue. So let's go to the paper blender. Guess why they are called paper blenders? Because why you blend it gives this really nice paper texture. The less you press, okay? The less you press, the more paper texture you will have. The more you press, the heavier the transition will be. So let's just add a little bit of red so you can see between colors how it will be. So here, let's select the red. Sorry for, your eyes because it will probably be a little bit heavy on the eyes. So as you can see, it mixes pretty nicely between colors. So let's go with, where is the other paper? Paper. Here's the other one. And as you can see, you have a very paper feel-like blender. The less you press, the more you press, the heavier will be. So let's go here. Same as before, but this is a little bit more soft. Texture blender. The texture blender, let me just select it here. Same as before. Okay, just select the blue. Let's remove the bottom one, change the color, and there we have it. This is a little bit my favorite because, as I said before, I really like the textures. And it's the same as before, as you can see. The less you press, the more texture you will have. Let's go. The erasers. Okay, the erasers are, practically speaking, erasers, as I said, like the name implies, that you can use to create intriguing texture for your work. Okay, so let's go eraser, texture tip. And as you can see, you can control the edge of your shape, or you can just add a little bit more intriguing opacity, a little bit more depth into opacity of your work. So for example, if no, I can do it because I've locked myself in the option for this kind of stuff, but you know. And as I said before, you're just erasing shapes here, and just, you know, to add a little bit of a pop in your canvas. And let's go with a pepper texture because I forgot to add something. And as you can see, this is a little bit more paperish. It gives a little bit more of a paper erasing feeling. This one is beautiful, okay? This is really a really beautiful brush because you can use it to add some really intriguing shapes, some really intriguing variation to your shapes, because it emulates a little bit the salt effect, meaning that, yeah, you can do those really, really cool stuff. I know probably this took a lot, and I just wanted to explain in depth how those brushes works, okay? So I hope you like the brushes. You can find them in the link in the little bar below. It's lennybunny.com, and you just go to digital store, and there you have it.